In this video, I'm going to use this battery pack as a prime example of how never to custom build a battery pack. Long story short, a friend of mine gave me this battery pack to go ahead and see what I can salvage out of it. Unfortunately, I won't be able to salvage any of the cells because it was completely discharged to zero, unfortunately. Let's just go ahead and do it. Right here, and you can see there, it's only 10 volt across the whole pack. So this battery pack's essentially shot, because what happens when you completely discharge them like that is they do go high resistance and then they damage the cell. Even if you go and try to recover it using a power supply and stuff, this battery pack's pretty much shot. It's never gonna work the way it's supposed to. Now, the main problems with how he built the battery pack is, you can see here, you got violet or purple cells, you got purple, light purple cells, you got green cells, you even got some black cells under there. He went ahead and pretty much took whatever cells he had laying around. Originally, I believe this was 11S battery pack. As you can see, it starts here and there somewhere. And he turned it into a 20S to get the 72 volts. And he just used whatever cells he had laying around with zero fucks given, pretty much. This is how you never built a battery pack. You always want to go ahead and match at least the capacity and stuff like that. And even better, you want to go and match the series and of course, you know, the discharge current and everything else to all the cells and stuff, that they're all the same. Then you go and discharge all the cells completely. You write down their capacities. You go and set up the rows with the capacity so you can go and balance the pack correctly and stuff like that. And then therefore, you got a well-balanced pack. That's the first mistake he did. The second mistake you can see right here is how he actually just soldered the nickel strips onto the top of the battery. That's another thing you never really want to do unless you absolutely have to. And if you do have to do it, you want to do it quick, because you can take a chance in making and melting the internal insulator in the cell and stuff like that. And even if it may work now, down the road they could potentially short out, and then of course your whole battery pack could catch fire. So that's why you never want to do it. And you can see he was on there for a long time, by the way, the shit job he did on the soldering, the amount of solder he used, so it wasn't really a quick job. The way you want to do is you want to go and spot weld these. You can pick up spot welders on eBay or Amazon for this purpose and stuff like that. And you want to spot weld the actual nickel tabs onto the pack correctly. And then you want to make sure too you're using the correct thickness of the nickel strips. In some cases, if you're using a lot of current, you want to go and double up on the nickel strips and stuff so it can be able to handle the current. Because what happens is, on this side, yeah, it'll be able to flow more current on this side because it's closest to the terminal. But as you go further away, it's going to develop what you call high resistance, because it got more to have to travel. And what happens is this side of the pack will end up heating up more, potentially damaging and destroying the cells. And then you either end up with a fire or you end up with destroyed cells and stuff. So you always want to make sure that you actually have thick enough nickel strip to be able to handle the current that you're trying to pull out battery. Let's say you're trying to pull 60 amps, 50 amps or whatever. You want to make sure that the thickness of the nickel strip can be able to handle that current without going high resistance on this side. So that way the whole pack heats up evenly and it'll be able to handle the amount of currents on all the rows, not just on this row cell, for example. Now let's turn this around. And here's where it gets really funny. You can see the two black cells right there, at least wrapped up in black heat shrink. You can see green cells. You can see the atrocious soldering. And then the other thing he did wrong was he didn't use the insulation washers. These here are the insulation washers, and they do that on the positive terminal when they lay down the nickel stripping, so that way it doesn't rub on the actual battery wrap. And therefore, if it rubs through the battery wrap, it goes and contacts the case, and then you got a potential short. So you use these insulated rods as extra protection, so that way, especially on e-bike where it's going to be vibrating and stuff like that, it doesn't potentially short out and catch fires. This is the reason why e-bike battery packs catch fire, because they don't use thick enough strips. They go ahead, some people will go and solder on the actual nickel strips to the battery terminal, melting, damaging the internal insulator. And also too, they go and mix match rows of cells and stuff like that, which is something you're not supposed to do. Now here the BMS, he's of course using a 20x 72-volt battery pack, and he is got 60 amp discharge. This battery pack would never have been able to handle 60 amps if he did it correctly. You know what I mean? It's just, this is the joke pretty much. But unfortunately, I won't be able to recover the cells because the battery pack was completely discharged. And even if I did take each of the cells and hook them up to a power supply to bring the voltage up and stuff like that, the chance of them doing internal high resistance and stuff is very high in the battery, so more likely shot anyway. But it's just some of the things you never do on a battery pack like this. The only thing I'm be able to salvage is the actual BMS. Now, in another video, I will show you how to properly build the battery pack, which, you know, 20S is going to be for your voltage, of course, and then the 5S could be for your capacity and your current capability. I'll go and show you how to arrange the cells from having to custom with just the nickel strips, and I'll also show you the pre-made ones, because we get the Shark battery cases, they come with pre-made templates with the nickel strips already in there, so that way you can go and spot weld and build the battery pack and stuff like that. So I'll show you how to do that in a whole nother video when I do custom battery packs and so forth. But just use this video as a way, and use this battery pack right here as this is how you never built a custom e-bike battery.